everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's DIY we are going to make this backpack. So if you're familiar with the anime Cardcaptor, I'm sure you will have seen this bag. Into it, that's the egg bag that Sakura, the main character, has, and I fell in love with her bag and I have been wanting to replicate it forever, so now I have one and you can have it too. As usual, all the information about the pattern are going to be in the description box, but also on my Facebook page. You're going to have all the different pattern pieces and more information on them. As for the fabric, I've used a very shiny type of leather because I thought it would be great to have it waterproof, and it is one of the most frustrating fabric I've ever had the displeasure to work with. So it's not really a fabric that is beginner friendly, but by all means you can substitute it to a regular heavyweight upholstery type fabric. It would be just fine. As you can see, the straps I had to change it to fabric because it was impossible, but other than that it should be fine. So if you want to go ahead with this type of fabric, I would advise you to be quite patient, and to stiffen the whole thing I would say do like I did and put some fusing on the lining, because you won't be able to on this type of fabric. So it's just to let you know. Otherwise, put your fusing on your outside of your bag, and you don't necessarily need to have a lining if you don't want to. So that's up to you. Alright, so let's get started. Bye! So we're going to start with the wings, and you're going to cut from the templates that I have on my Facebook page. You're going to cut 4 pieces out of yellow felt. Then you're going to stack 2 pieces of felt for each wing. And I'm putting 2 pieces because that way it's going to make the wing more sturdy, but you can put more if you want to. And then you're going to sew all around the wing. And don't forget to put the little swirly bit at the bottom just to show that it's a wing. You can use a pencil to trace the little swirl. So once your wings are made up, you're going to take one of your body piece, it doesn't matter which one because they are together same, and you're going to place them on the top and place them wherever you feel like it's the best, and then you're going to sew the wing in place. Make sure when you do that you do not sew the seam allowance, because otherwise you will have your wing going inside your bag. So that's the only thing that you need to take care of. So now we are going to install the zipper. So for that you will need your zipper and your zip tab pieces. I'm using a zipper that is slightly bigger than my pieces, so I don't have to worry about the pull tab being on the way. I'm going to trace with a pencil and a ruler the sewing line. That's because it's a fake leather material and I don't really want to use pins because it would make visible holes. If you do use pins, make sure you put them within the seam allowance. I'm going to take my zipper and put it T-space down on my fabric, and I'm going to match the edge of my zipper with the edge of my fabric, the long edge of the fabric. Next, I'm going to sew right next to the teeth the zipper down, and that's where the line comes in handy. I'm going to match the line with the teeth of the zipper, so it's going to serve me as a guide as I sew along. Make sure you're using a zipper foot on your machine. So once the first half of the zipper is sewn, you're going to flip it on the other side, and then you're going to do a top stitch to keep everything in place. Next, you're going to take the other zip tab and you're going to place it right sides on top of the zipper. So the teeth are going to be facing the right side of your fabric, and make sure that the edges of your fabric are lining up on each side. And same thing, you're going to sew it with a zipper foot and then turn it and top stitch it. When it's done, just make sure that the zipper is working perfectly. So next we are going to attach the zip tab to the bottom of the bag. So it's a long rectangle of fabric, should be longer than the zip tab. and just put them right sides together and attach them at the short edge of the fabric. As you can see there, my zip tabs are a tiny bit bigger, larger than the bottom of the bag. It's fine, we can trim them later. That's just because I left a good bit of space for the teeth of my zipper. So, but that's not a big problem. We are going to sort that out later on. That's how it looks like, and as you can see, I've trimmed the top pieces to match the bottom piece. So as long as they are the same width, it's fine. And next, on either side of the zipper tab, we are going to do a top stitch to keep everything in place and to keep this edge from bulging. Alright, so now let's move on to the straps. So for the straps, you will need 2 pieces of fabric that will measure 3 inches by 19 to 20 inches. For that, you might need to go smaller depending on your size. You will need 2 pieces of strapping that will measure between 5 and 6 inches, and finally you will need 2 strap buckles. So first off, you're going to iron your strap in half lengthwise, just to mark up the crease where the middle is, and then you're going to do the same with the seam allowance on one of the sides, just to have everything in place. Then you're going to take your piece of strapping and place it next to the center crease. Then we're going to sew everything across to keep everything in place. So next, I'm going to fold back my strap in half lengthwise. And what I'm going to do is encase my seam allowance towards the inside so it will not show. And I'm going to use an iron to do so, so it's going to be a lot easier for me to sew everything together. Once it's done, I'm going to pin them. You can pin them if you want, otherwise just keep everything together. And what we need to do is sew all around the strap to keep everything together and flat. Next, we're going to attach the buckle to the strap, but first I'm going to burn the ends so it won't unravel. So next you can take your buckle, and where you have the little arrow there, you have some teeth. This is the bottom of your buckle. So you're going to put your strapping around the first ladder of the buckle, and you're going to fold the strapping in half. Then you're going to secure everything in place with a stitching. So you're going to stitch a box like with an X in the middle, just to make it everything extra secure. And that's how your straps should look like. So now we are going to attach the strap. So you will need your body piece that doesn't have the wings, and where you have the top of your egg on either side of the midpoint, you're going to mark 1.5 inches on either side. You're going to put on that marking, you're going to sew on the straps, wrong side facing the right side of the fabric. So the wrong side of the strap is the one that has the teeth on the bottom of it. Then on either side of the midpoint on the bottom of the body, 3 inches on either side, we are going to attach the rest of the strap. So you're going to take a piece of strapping that will measure anything between 15 to 20 inches and sew them down. So now it's time to assemble the bag. So you're going to take this tube thing that you have with the zip tab, and you're going to match up the midpoint of the zip tab with the top notch on your bag. I'm going to use pins for that because otherwise it would be a bit difficult. But I'm going to pin everything within the seam allowance, so I'm not going to make holes into the bag itself. So if you're using leather, make sure you're pinning within the seam allowance. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. So I have the middle of my bottom marked up, and I'm going to match it up to the midpoint on the bottom of the bag, which should be marked up. Once that's done, I'm going to match up the side seam to the midpoint on the side, on either side of my bag. And then what I'm going to do is put as many pins as possible all around to get everything even, and then I'm going to sew around with a centimeter seam allowance. So once you're done with one side, you need to do the other one, and for that you will need to make sure that the wings are folded inwards, so that way they won't get sewn on into the bag by mistake. And you're going to repeat the exact same process by pinning each midpoint on each pieces together, and then pinning all around so everything is all nice and even. For that, first you need as well to make sure that your zip is open so you can turn your bag inside out. So now before we turn the bag inside out, we need to clip the seam allowance. All the edges are rounded, so when we'll turn it without that, it's going to be very bulky. So you're going to cut little triangular shape within the seam allowance every few centimeters or every inch or so, just like so. And that's going to relieve the bulk and allow your edges to sit properly. So now we are going to put the straps together. So you're going to take your bottom strapping and you're going to pull it through the second opening of the buckle. Once that's done, you're going to put it through the last opening, and the teeth and the bottom will catch up on the strap and it will keep it together. So now you could be done with your bag, but since I've used this very weird fabric and it's I can't iron anything on it, so I could not stiffen it. So I have made a lining with some heavy fusing going on, and I've put it together same way as I've put the bag, but instead of putting a zipper, what I did is just fold my seam allowance inwards and iron it in place, and then I put everything together just like the bag. Once the lining was put together, all I did is put the lining inside of the bag, and I took my fabric glue and glued the edges of the opening to the tape of the zipper, and that's all there is to it. And you are done with your bag. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful. If you did, why not leaving this video a thumbs up, and if you're not already, you can subscribe to know whenever I make a new video. If you have any comments or any requests, you can leave them in the comment below, and I'm going to leave all the links for my social media down in the description box. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!